2 minutes. Yeah, where is she? Okay. Could be video.
Well, I was looking at it, and
Is it? Oh, okay. And there's Carrie.
it changed.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the January 15th, 2014 meeting of the Fairview City Council. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Prom,
Here.
Counselor Kremeyer,
Here.
Counselor Owen,
Here.
Counselor Barton Mullins,
Here.
Counselor Arnold,
Here.
Mayor Weatherby.
Here. Now, would you all stand while I lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you very much. Before we go to the consent agenda, I want to make a note that we are polling an item. And I'm sorry, Sam, I can't remember. What is the number of the
Ordinance 3, 2014.
Ordinance 3, 2013? That will be taken up in the next meeting in February, the first meeting in February. Councilor Arnold has asked for some time to take a look at revitalizing that committee, and I think I'm ready and raring to see what happens. She'll bring it up in front of the whole council then. Okay? So the next thing is consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay, council business. The first thing is reconsider appointments to city council position number 2. We need a motion.
You're not going to do all of this?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess that's on down the line. I had the page turned. Okay, next thing is minutes of this, citizens wishing to speak. I'm sorry. Wow, I thought I had enough caffeine. So the first thing we have is Mr. Moore. We're not going to have that item on the agenda. Did you want to speak since it's not on the agenda, or did you want to wait until the public hearing?
Who's that? Who's that, Mayor?
Les Moore.
Is he here?
I don't think
No,
he's
it's not here, I guess. Okay. Next is John Charles. Mr. Charles, you come up and please put your name and address in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Charles, President of Cascade Policy Institute, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan policy research center based in Portland. And I'm here today just to pass out informationally to you a study that I spent about 5 months working on entitled Why Cities and Counties Should Consider Leaving TriMet. And I didn't write it because I'm opposed to transit. I'm actually a pretty regular transit writer. I wrote it because 11 months ago, the very last attachment here in my report, TriMet itself, the general manager, passed out this chart indicating that between now and 2030, they would run probably $1.5 billion deficit, which would essentially shut the agency down. In the 11 months since that was passed out, TriMet has had no solution to that problem. And in fact, I go to most TriMet board meetings, and I've been to every one of their planning retreats in the last 5 years. And the fact that their cost structure is not sustainable is discussed all the time. And it turns out they don't have a solution. Over the last 20 years, their business model has become so expensive, primarily because their cost of labor is too high, considering that for every dollar they spend in wages, they spend $1.56 in fringe benefits, which I've never heard of anywhere, actually. It's completely unsustainable, and it's also not something you can negotiate back at the bargaining table. That's their solution, that they think they can essentially cut fringe benefits by 50%, which I view as a fantasy, not a plan. So I've known for years that 6 cities have withdrawn from TriMet. They're allowed to. 4 of those cities set up their own transit districts, and I was a regular commuter from Sandy in 2000 when Sandy left the district and started their own. Actually, they had worked on it for 5 or 6 years. So I was a TriMet commuter one day and then a Sandy area metro commuter the next, and I can just tell you that the service was far better. It cost me a lot less. Actually, it went down to 0. And the payroll tax rate on businesses that were supporting it was lower and remains lower today than the payroll tax rate that TriMet imposes on all of your businesses. So what I hadn't known until I wrote this paper was what the track record had been for Wilsonville, Canby, and Malala, the other opt-out cities. So I wrote it up. It's all in the paper here. You can read it if you'd like. And all of the opt-out cities are doing much better for having left. They're not trying to get back into TriMet. And in fact, when I interviewed Mayor Linda Malone of Sandy last summer for this, she laughed and said, of all the things we ever did when I was mayor, leaving TriMet, that was the best thing we ever did. So I would just suggest that you take a hard look at this chart, and if you conclude that that's a problem for your city, that your service is likely to decline while your tax is probably going to go up, you might want to spend a small amount of money on some due diligence to maybe look around, learn a little, and see if you want to proceed, because there are legal options for leaving TriMet. And as with school districts, water districts, fire, there could be all kinds of combinations. You could do it alone. You could do it maybe in partnership with Troutdale Wood Village. There's in a variety of ways, but my point is there doesn't have to be one big mega transit district. We don't do that for schools, water, or fire. We don't do it for cities or counties. That's why we have lots of them. And maybe for transit, it would be better to investigate and potentially leave. So
Thank you very much,
that's the only
sir.
reason I came. I'd be happy to answer questions, and if not, any other time in the future, if you'd like
Okay.
to call me.
Your time's up, but we do have a question from Councilor Prom.
Mr. Charles, thanks for coming tonight. I'd like you to know that this is on the radar of many of the councilors up here. I understand our next option is in 2016, is that correct?
That would be correct for one of the 2 ways you could leave the district.
Okay, what are our other options?
'Cause if you do it the way the other cities did, like Sandy, then yes, your next option would be 2016, and you would petition TriMet to leave, and they would say yes or no. The other option is to put out on the ballot for direct election by the registered voters within the TriMet district for you to simply leave, and you could do that at any time, and you would not need any approval by the TriMet board. And my personal view is, while that would be a challenge, it would be less of a challenge if if an affected jurisdiction were to partner with other potential allies, maybe Estacada, Cornelius, Sherwood, other satellite cities, maybe they all sort of conclude this is a good idea and they jointly put out on the ballot. Now that suddenly they have a lot more voting leverage. So those are the two options under current law. And personally, I think if they don't work, that's what your state legislators are for, is for you to go to them and say, we need a legislative fix to allow us to do something on our own.
Could you email me your email address on my city email?
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Councilor Owen?
Yeah, considering that Fairview geographically is very small, if we were to pull out from TriMet, what would that look like for someone that needed to use mass transit in the city of Fairview? I doubt there's many people going from one end of Fairview to the other using TriMet. They're, I would guess, probably going to other points. So would there be like a transfer I mean, how would that work?
I would say you're only limited by your imagination. When Sandy first considered this, they were interested in knowing, first of all, how much payroll tax money were all the affected businesses sending to TriMet, and which they had to estimate because TriMet won't actually tell you directly. And then they looked at how much service they were getting, and they're trying to do a benefit cost, and if the money you're sending to TriMet seems to exceed the money being spent on your service, that would be one indication that it's probably worth a closer look. And then eventually, I would personally look at the 4 opt-out cities and what they've done, and all the iterations of contracting out, and some door-to-door service, and some fixed route service, and then certain services connecting to other cities. When Wilsonville first opted out, they actually continued to pay TriMet to run some fixed route service to the city while they developed their own. Sandy has gradually grown so that they've now do some service to Estacada. They've also partnered with Clackamas County on a new bus route all the way up to Timberline Lodge. It's all been incremental. It wasn't planned necessarily that way 15 years ago when they were talking about it. They've learned as they go.
Yeah, I guess as part of your study, so do you actually believe that the city of Fairview could do something like this on their own and be effective, or would we need to partner with, say, Troutdale and Wood Village?
I think it's possible you could do it on your own. You could, if you knew that you were sending a lot of money to TriMet and you didn't want to send it there, and you could send the same money here, you could set it up. You could buy a couple buses. You could run your own routes that might connect to certain places like the Transit Center in Gresham, an express bus route to downtown Portland, and decide what kind of fares to set. I can tell you in Sandy, after 12 years now, they still really only have about 1.5 FTE running the system. They contract out everything. That's the reason why they have really, well, the lowest cost per mile or per hour of any of their peers. They've kept the bureaucracy simple. They contract out, and they're very nimble. They can change, and that's what you could do. Although you also might find it worthwhile to partner with the other 2 cities. That's what you would have to play with some options. You could put a little money into a consultant and ask them for some advice. Kind of not spend very much money, just enough money at each step to figure out if this seems worth doing. But I find that the bigger you get, way bigger to TriMet level, there are not economies of scale, there are diseconomies of scale. And that's why TriMet, after 45 years, is now imploding.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I appreciate that. And if we reprise the Banfield Flyer, that would take care of moving people down to Portland, which TriMet won't even do. So, but thank you very much. I think that you have really sparked the interest of the council. We'll read this.
Thank you, sir.
Next is Keith Kudina.
Thank you very much. Keith Kuderno, 1603 Northeast 207th Place. think we all know I am here. It's not a great shock. The six of you are very strong, very driven individuals. I wouldn't expect anything less from anybody who was elected. You have to be strong and very intelligent, very, very driven. And so with that comes some disagreement. I think we saw a little bit of that last week. One of the aspects of being on the city council is you are charged with a number of items. One of those items is to make decisions. Last week, a decision was not made. I go back further to December. There were 2 seats for the Parks Committee. You were charged with making decisions on those 2 seats. Decisions were not made. An old mentor of mine told me a long time ago, once is a happenstance, twice is a pattern. And this, to me, definitely looks like a pattern. A pattern of, I don't know what it means, I don't know what it is, but I'm asking if we can just move on. If we, whatever led us here, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Let's just move on. The worst thing we can do is not make a decision. Now, I understand that later on tonight, you have an opportunity to bring this back up for a decision, and I implore you to do that for the people of Fairview. Now, please understand, I just want to make this perfectly clear, that this has absolutely nothing to do with me not being appointed. You had a number of excellent, excellent candidates, and any one of them could have been chosen, and any one of them could have done a great job. But to come up with nothing, to me, is not acceptable. The city deserves better. The city deserves your all. And what I saw last week was not your all. Why on earth would you stop the nomination process when it wasn't complete? It doesn't make sense to me. Something else that doesn't make sense to me. There was no deliberation at all. On Planning Commission, when we come up to it, when we have a decision to be made, we finish the public testimony and we discuss the matter. Pros, cons, what we like, what we don't like, what we'd like to see changed. It's a healthy discourse. And with 6 very strong individuals, I would expect nothing less, because I guarantee you, you're not all thinking the same way. So why is it that on December 4th and again last week, we saw no deliberation? Last week, we were looking at, it's an important decision. Allowing somebody, getting somebody up there on one of the most important citizen-led seats that this city has to offer. And there was absolutely no discourse amongst you as far as the pros and cons of the candidates. How can you make an effective decision without discussion? It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, last week, one of the candidates, Renee Delano, mentioned something that, to be honest with you, I had thought about for a long time. And when she mentioned it, it definitely drove home. A lot of times people come up to city council and into these meetings and they say something, and I get, what I'm getting now. You're paying attention to me, which I appreciate. Every once in a while, you'll get a head nod. But very rarely do you get an answer. So tonight, during your councilor comments section, I challenge you. I challenge all of you. Answer the people of Fairview as to why the decision was not made last week. Justify it. You are here to represent us. I believe we deserve that much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith. Appreciate that. The Councilor Barton Mullins has a question.
I don't have a question. It's just thank you for being here. We deserve that. It is going to be brought back up later, and I really do hope that we will discuss it. That's one of the things the mayor and I talked about that was definitely lacking. And it's not only lacking last week in that one decision, it lacks continually, and I think we need to do something about that. But I appreciate your coming up here and giving your thoughts to us.
Yes, thank you very much. And Mr. Moore, I understand you have come back in, and we have pulled the agenda item. It will be looked at in 2 weeks at the first meeting in February. Councilor Arnold wants to reinvigorate the committee with some new ideas and a different proposal to present to council. So if you want to say something now, it's fine, because it isn't on the agenda, or you can wait until then. Your choice.
I'll wait, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your
Okay,
time.
thank you.
And I hope that review it as resolution. And that's, is that the subject of your layover?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, next is the administrator and director's reports.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I just have a few brief updates, actually kind of notifications for you. Since it is the beginning of the year, we are starting to look at all of our planning for the remainder of the year and the projects and things coming up. Reminder, we have budget coming up in April. We'll have those meetings, and I want the citizens to kind of make sure we're starting to get that on our calendars. I'll be meeting with each of the council liaisons, trying and inquiring of you to work with your committees to try and put together their goals and things that they're looking for, so that you can bring those to the goal setting at the end of February. As well, so we can begin to try to get those built into the budget as we're working toward that. March is our big time for budget for staff, so whatever we can do to try and get as many of those things identified would be great. And obviously, if citizens have input or comments they'd like to make in regards to that, please feel free to contact me or any of you on the council as well. Speaking with Councilor Arnold earlier today, the volunteer recognition event planning will be commencing. I'm going to be asking the mayor to look at a council committee to help staff put that event on to recognize our volunteers. This is a council event to thank the volunteers that we have that help all of us make things happen. So we'll be doing that. I know this was a pet project of Councilor Barton Mullins. She really pushed for this last year in the budget. So we're looking forward to this event. The staff is available this evening for questions. I do not have any additional updates for you this evening. Sergeant Kirby is available. Chief Johnson is at ELETS trainings, executive leadership training for law enforcement. Deputy Director Lisa Folgers available, as well as is Public Works Director Alan Berry. So we are here if you have any questions.
Would you like me to name someone right now?
No, I just wanted to let...
I mean, I can do it. I have, I'm primed.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to have a conversation with some of the counselors first and see who was perhaps interested.
I thought I could ask for that right now.
Sure, absolutely. That'd be great.
Would you please show your lights, those who are interested in being on that committee? Okay, all right, the following people, Councilor Arnold, Councilor Barton Mullins, and Councilor Owen are now on that committee.
Thank you very much.
See? All right. Okay, no other questions of any other directors. Next is Mayor and Council reports, and Councilor Arnold first.
I'll make it short tonight, Mayor. Thank you. It was a very busy December with lots of meetings and events that I attended. I just would share, though, that I was recently appointed to the League of Oregon Cities Community Development Policy Committee, and we'll set forth on an agenda starting the end of the month. And then on a personal note, I just thought I would share some exciting news. I was recently accepted to the master's program at OHSU for healthcare administration, so I'm looking forward to furthering my education this coming year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats. Okay, Councilor Barton Mullins.
Councilor Arnold is correct. It's been a very busy December, and January has been very busy as well. In the last week or two, I have attended EMECTUC, which is East Metro Economic Alliance. Oh, I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong one. It's East Multnomah County Transportation Committee. And Sam brought everybody up to date in her weekly thing, so I won't bother you with that. At JPAC, which is Joint Policy Advisory Committee on Transportation, our chair, Carlotta Collette, will be leaving. She's been chair for many years, and Craig Dirksen will be taking over. I can't remember what, he was the mayor of, I can't remember what city. Can't remember.
So over there off of Highway 26 on the way to the coast.
Okay. Anyway, he'll be
Doesn't help
taking
much.
over as the chairman. So we're looking forward to that continuing. EME, which is East Metro Economic Alliance. Basically, we just talked about the year-end review. Their main deal is the membership and how many members they have on that committee, and they look like they're doing really well. EME lunch, afterwards we had Jim Francesconi come and talk to us about his election coming up, his campaign, and so it was very interesting to listen to him. He actually wanted to, more than talk to us, he wanted us to talk to him and get our ideas, and I thought that was very interesting. We had a meeting the other night, the three cities fire study. Consisted of Fairview, Wood Village, and Troutdale. It's a study that we had commissioned, and that'll be really interesting to get together as a council and then again as the three cities to discuss how we're going to go forward with our fire coverage. So, and tomorrow night I have the Parks and Recreation Committee, and so I'm looking forward to another year with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'll speak next. Councilor Arnold.
I apologize. Got a little excited there, Keith. So I did want to take a moment to address some of the concerns that you had brought up. I think with all due respect, you're right. We do have an obligation to make a decision, and I was disappointed, and I think I verbalized that, my disappointment about our inability to come to that decision. We can do better. I met with the mayor. We had a great discussion, and I think some other folks met with the mayor and talked with him also, and that's what led us here tonight. My hope, Keith, is that we're going to walk away with a new city councilor tonight. The other piece of that, you had made reference to the Parks and Recreation, and I wasn't sure if you were here when we actually had the meeting, but we did discuss that, and we did say that we have further work that we want to do with regards to committee, and we're going to actually be passing something tonight with regards to the structure, the backbone of what that'll look like, and it could change, in essence, what we're doing on those committees. We wanted to complete that work, and that's really what the postponement of the parks appointment was about. So I hope that helps, and I want you to know that I appreciate your comments, and I would love to sit down to coffee with you and talk about any of the other concerns that you might have. I hope that you'll, take me up on that offer.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to piggyback on that and say that it is my fervent desire that we appoint someone tonight, show that we can move ahead. We have a good group of people. All we need to do is to get marching in the same general direction. We have different ideas on what should happen, how we should approach things, but that's fine. That's what should happen because we have different segments of our committee representing each parts of our city. We have a planning group, we have police still, committee, we have public safety committee, we have parks and recreation, we have others, and we have different segments of our population, different segments, people that live down by the lake or up in historic Old Town, or whether it's in the village or Sandy or wherever. They all have different ideas, and even goes as far as the household, so I think we can accomplish that. And so with that, I will go on to Councilor Owen.
Yeah, Lisa had already mentioned this, but as it relates to the, I guess we'll call it emergency service and fire study that Portland State did for us, that was a good meeting on, I think it was Monday night, where we had an opportunity to at least hear the report and have the councils of Wood Village and Fairview in the room with us. And I would assume the next step will be for us as a council to have maybe a meeting on our own with the folks from Portland State to help us understand maybe even a little more than what we learned the other night, because it was a very condensed amount of time that we had there. But I think the reality is the city of Fairview pays about $800,000 a year to the city of Gresham for fire and police services. And I think what we heard the other night is about 3/4 of that really relates more to emergency services and not so much having a fire truck show up at your house. They have a policy, and the way they run the fire department is that when a call is made, that they dispatch a fire truck, at least one, typically two, and we found out that sometimes it's up to like 4 if it's a house fire. But I think the real issue with us is what is the response needed for emergency medical services. So in the sense that someone has a heart attack, I mean, what do you really need? Do you need multiple fire trucks showing up at your house, or do you need a paramedic unit that has the proper equipment to take care of your medical needs? So hopefully as we move forward, we may have some opportunity to talk with Gresham and see maybe about restructuring, how they provide emergency services to not only to the city of Fairview, but the surrounding cities, and maybe something that they should consider for themselves, because the escalating costs really aren't sustainable for us to continue to do that. So that is probably, at least in my view, one of the main issues, concerns that we as a city need to address, and at least we're kind of ahead of it right now, and we have an opportunity to do that. As it relates to, the comments that Keith made this evening and our lack of being able to actually cause something to happen in December, and then of course last week from a council perspective. I mean, I know that some of us have had an opportunity to get together and talk. Not all of us, I haven't been able to do that, but I do feel that there is an energy up here, and I'm very hopeful that before we leave here tonight, that we can have that 7th council member in place. I think it's important for the council and the city, just the ability to move forward. I think it'll maybe provide some even additional balance, that we're lacking, and I think it will be good for all of us to have that. So hold out, stay on the edge of your seats, and with any luck at all, we can pull that off tonight. I think it'll be good for all of us. And I guess, Sam, the gentleman that was here, I think it was John Charles from the Cascade Policy Institute, he mentioned something about estimated payroll tax. I'm not asking you to go do a lot of work, and I don't want you to spend a whole lot of time on this, but there must be a way to at least get an estimated payroll tax that happens in the city of Fairview, and that is, I guess, TriMet related, just so that we can see. It just feels to me like Fairview is so small that it would be quite challenging for us to put something together. But he did looks like a fairly comprehensive study. I mean, he has to have at least some good knowledge. It'd be interesting for us to know that. So if that's not too much work, if you could pull that together. If it is too much work, if you can let us know maybe what our options are.
Yeah,
That's it. That's all I had. Thanks.
Okay, Councilor Cremeyer.
And kind of to piggyback on what Steve just said, I think it would be a good idea why Samantha's working on trying to put together what it would cost or what the payroll taxes are from TriMet to maybe have you, Mayor, contact Wood Village and Troutdale to see if they have any interest in doing it, to try to create an economy of scale on that project or proposed project. The next thing I have, everyone on the council here tonight was given a copy of the Fairview Business Survey. It was created and finalized last Thursday on January 9th, and Erica Fitzgerald with the city put it together, and I believe Alan brought it up tonight to pass out to everyone. And what it is, it's basically a questionnaire for Fairview businesses. It has 10 questions on it. It was created by EDAC, and it was approved by the EDAC committee to move forward with this. So I'm bringing it to you guys tonight to look at for approval, so we can hopefully potentially mail this out to see what we can as a city do to benefit or increase the benefits for the Fairview businesses. And the responses will get mailed back. They'll be compiled by Erica. EDAC will compile the responses, look at the responses, and at that point in time, bring the results of the survey back to the city council. And they'll probably be brought back at that point in time by Chair Herford. I'm assuming probably March, April, something along that line. So, I for one too, I appreciate you coming tonight, Keith, as well. I for one too am very looking forward to moving forward and getting a 7th counselor and getting all of the committee appointments filled. So I think it's very, very important that we do that and we get it done in a timely fashion. So again, I appreciate you coming forward tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Prom.
Yes, I also attended the Monday night meeting for the Three Cities Fire and EMS services. I thought, honestly, that was probably one of the best government meetings I've ever been to. I mean, there was a lot of really valuable information. The research that PSU did was very detailed, gave us a lot of different options. I think Councilor Owen summarized it very well, so I don't need to rehash it, but I thought it was some good information to go forward with so we can make some good decisions. I also would like to piggyback on the TriMet tax base here. If we could, I think that's going to be surprisingly large to see how much TriMet taxes are collected here. And we're going to find, I think it's going to be in a very disproportionate to what services are actually provided for Fairview. Keith, did you get your answers? Did you get your answers tonight for your questions yet? Or would you like my opinion too? Okay, so basically I think, yes, we could have made a decision last night if the process was different, if there was discussion afterwards. But historically, that's not the process that's done. That wasn't on the agenda. That wasn't an option. Maybe the mayor could have called an audible. I don't know. But that didn't happen. So I think looking tonight, we will be able to move forward in that subject, and hopefully that'll happen. So.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. Next, council business. And apologize if my eyes, I had the pages confused, but got it back. So this is the next item is reconsider appointments, the council position number 2. And so the first thing we need is a motion to reconsider.
Mayor, I'd like
yes.
to make a motion to reconsider appointment to council position number 2 this evening.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Passed unanimously.
And I guess just as a follow-on to that, I know that, we at least had some discussion this evening, or, I guess a response back to Keith. There's no question, that when we look at the pool of candidates, there were some very qualified candidates that came before us. I think everybody qualified, there was a variety of qualifications that actually each one of these people brought that the city of Fairview could have benefited from. I really, truly am interested in getting this thing moving forward, and I think it's very important for the city of Fairview to have that 7th council position seated, and I would sure like to hope that we could do that tonight. So, Mayor, with that, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Ted Tosterud to council position number 2.
Second.
I would like to use my prerogative to second that.
I think there's already been a second, Mayor.
You're right. He did make a second faster. So, but anyway, I third it. But okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, Councilor Barton Mullins.
All right, let the discussion begin. I think we're going to go forward tonight and seat someone, and I'm really happy about that. Quite honestly, he's not my first choice, not my second choice. I think that there were some very, very more qualified people. And I am sorry that we couldn't get them seated. And that they'll just have to wait till the election in November to come forward again. But I think it's also very important for us to put somebody in this seat. And it's going to make this year much easier for us. I've talked with Ted a couple of times. He's got a really good business background. And I think he will be very independent. He has, he's thinking independently, and I appreciate that. So I will support him.
Councilor Arnold.
Along those same lines, I have a tendency to agree. I think that we definitely had quite a few qualified candidates, and the mayor and I had a discussion, and I told him who I thought was the most qualified and who certainly deserved a seat up here. Unfortunately, his name didn't even make it to nomination last week, and I think that also plays a role in my frustration. I just want to verbalize it, that I think that everybody who participated in this process did deserve to have their name read, and they deserved the honor, or dishonor, I guess, of being voted on. I think that they deserved that, and I think we did not do justice in that. I also want to mention one of the candidates pulled her name from the running. I nominated her first, and I still stand behind that nomination. I think she has done an amazing job, and Renee, if you're at home watching, thank you for everything that you've done for this city, which has been a lot, and you've devoted a lot of time. And I'm very, very sorry about some of the things that happened, that were played out in the Gresham Outlook, that were, in my mind, very disrespectful. And I don't think that any volunteers deserve to be treated like that. So my hope is that we can treat each other with respect, treat our volunteers with respect, and let's move forward. Thank you.
Councilor Cremeyer.
Again, we did have a lot of really qualified people that did apply for this position, and any one of them would have been a good addition to our council. One of the things, kind of a couple things that I really liked with Mr. Tosterroot is I think he has a lot of business experience from listening to him speak. I think he was a very well-spoken, articulate individual that'll bring a wealth of knowledge to our city council if he's voted on and voted in tonight. One of the things I really liked was the quality control processes that he talked about and possibly looking at implementing. That I think would be a good thing for us as a city to possibly look at. And then the other thing is, I think that it is important, and it probably isn't maybe isn't important to some of the other people up here on the council as it is to me. But if you look at the demographics of our council right now, we have 3 people on our council that reside here in Fairview Village. We have 1 person down by the lakes, and we have 2 people basically that are in Old Town. And I think it's very important to keep that a diverse group up here. So we're representing not just Fairview Village, or we're not representing Old Town, but we're representing all of Fairview. And I think it's very important that we have people on this council that represent everybody here in Fairview. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Prom.
Yes. When considering applications last week, and I understand your concern, Councilor Arnold, about nominations, some people didn't even get nominated even though they were qualified. I think the reality was it was just going to be the same thing if they got nominated. Some of the candidates that did not get nominated were very polarizing, and that's why I chose to nominate Ted Tosterroot first, because I felt he would be the most neutral. Never met him before last night, but I felt like he comes from his background, from his experience. I think he'll be a very good, neutral individual thinker, and that's what I think we need for the council, not a polarizing person one way or the other.
Thank you. Well, and I agree completely. Anyone else? All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of Mr. Ted Tosterone, say aye. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? He is appointed unanimously. So, Ted,
Good work.
you want to come up and be sworn in? Yeah. Can our attorney swear him in?
I don't have the oath here this evening.
Pardon?
I don't have the oath
You don't?
to swear him in.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Why don't we, Sam, can you set up a time prior to the next meeting in which Ted can be sworn in?
Absolutely.
Okay?
I'm sorry, Mary, I did not come prepared. I didn't know, so otherwise I would have.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, would it be possible that we do that before the end of this meeting tonight? Is it possible to get that information and we could just postpone the appointment?
That would be preferred.
Is it available?
Yeah, if it would just give me a little bit to go research my files, I can pull
Okay,
from
well, why don't
when
we carry on
when we did that last week.
later we can bring Ted up and we can take care of it. We don't have to wait then. Okay, thank you. Okay, so just hang on, Ted. All right. The next is amending FMC 16.5 Erosion Control Plan, Ordinance 4-2014. And this is the first reading. Okay, Alan?
Excuse me, Mayor, do you want the ordinance read by title?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I get so used to that.
An ordinance of the Fairview City Council amending Chapter 16.15 of the Fairview Municipal Code Erosion Control Plan.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Weatherby, members of council. As you know, we're a co-permittee with Gresham for our MS4 permit as part of the NPDS clean water approach to our stormwater. As a result of our EPA audit, EPA told us about some things that we needed to tighten up on and provide, which were basically procedures for construction runoff. When we met with the the DEQ, strongly suggested that as co-permittees we should have similar standards. Our erosion control manual, our current one, is dated 1993. It's really, really out of date. To provide consistency in terms of reporting, field work. This ordinance would replace the 1993 version with the current Gresham manual that gets updated on a regular basis, keeps us current. We don't have to rewrite it ourselves, which would cost an awful lot of money. And in a nutshell, that's what this ordinance will do for us.
Okay. Are there any council questions for Alan on this matter? Okay, seeing none, well then we will hold this off till the next meeting. We will continue this for a second reading. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is adopting FMC 9.21, requiring compliance with U.S. Controlled Substance Act and amending FMC 5.05, Business License Provision Ordinance 5-2014. First reading. Council, please, or clerk, please read that.
An ordinance of the Fairview City Council adopting Fairview Municipal Code Chapter 9.21 requiring compliance with the U.S. Controlled Substances Act and amending Chapter 5.05 Business License Provisions.
Okay. Any questions of staff on this? Okay, Councilor Arnold.
Thank you. With regard to page, gosh, it doesn't have a page number on it. It is the section that .05.080, falsifying application information penalty for delinquent filing. It looks like originally it was $15 for each month or a fraction thereof, and then it was changed to $25 each month for not filing for your business license. It seems kind of excessive for me, considering the business license is only $100 and you're fining $25 every month.
I think that is what I double checked with, I believe, with Lisa Bolger to find out what the city was charging right now, and that is what the amount is. So I just updated it in the code.
$25 a month?
I believe that's, if Lisa's here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do issue the business licenses, and actually it is $15 per month for delinquent. So that, I apologize, that's an error.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that could be corrected for the second reading then.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay, any other council questions? All right, at the next meeting, we will have the second reading.
Before you continue, I was able to find the oath of office. So if you would like to...
Okay, why don't we,
What was that?
The oath of office. I was able to find your oath of office if
You
you
did
would like
find
to
it.
swear in your new counselor before the next item.
okay, why don't we finish this one section here and then we'll do that. Okay, next, I think, Becky, why don't we do it right now before we have the public hearings? Do that. Ted, you ready?
Mayor?
We'll try that again.
I'm sorry, you have one more reading for FMC 2.14.
Okay, let's do that.
And actually, you have two more.
You want to read that?
Two more first title readings.
Two more, okay, go ahead.
Okay. Ordinance 7/2014, an ordinance of the Fairview City Council adopting Fairview Municipal Code Chapter 2.14, Commissions, Committees, and Task Forces, Council-created advisory committees.
Okay. Sam?
Yes, sir. This is the proposed language for the governance of all of council-appointed committees. It would include commissions, committees, task forces. This language was originally proposed in October. A committee of the council reviewed it and presented it to you this evening during work session.
Okay. Any questions of Sam? Hearing none, this will be moved then for a second reading at the next council meeting. Okay, next. Okay, you want to read
Ordinance
that?
8/2014, an ordinance of the Fairview City Council amending Chapter 13.05, 13.10, and 13.30 of the Fairview Municipal Code concerning utility billing delinquent penalty fee amounts.
Good evening, Mayor, Weatherby, councilors. In October, we held a work session in which staff was directed by council to review utility billing penalty fees to other jurisdictions. And after doing so, we were instructed to bring before you today an ordinance that would decrease utility billing penalty fees from 10%, which they today are, down to 5%. In addition, we currently charge penalties on any accounts with a balance over $5, and we would like to increase that to any accounts with a balance over $10.
Okay, and Councilor Cremeyer, you have a question?
I just had one question on that. So is it still 5 days then also?
Yes, we're still working on that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry. We're still working on that to extend that grace
Yes,
period?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
And so that'll be brought to us with
The second
another...
reading.
Correct.
Oh, at the second reading? Is that what you said?
It's
Second reading?
Sometime in February. I don't know if it'll be
February?
the first or second.
It should be the first meeting, the next meeting.
We have the first, it'll be the second reading for this, but then
Right.
we'll be having a first reading either at the meeting on the 5th or the meeting on the 15th for the
Or-
extension of the grace period. So that's a separate part of the utility and billing adjustment changes that we're making. So that'll be a separate ordinance.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, then this is deferred to the next meeting for a second reading. Okay, let's give this a call again, Ty. I was just so excited, I just wanted to get you up here and swear you in, so.
Really going to do it?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
it says.
Are you sure you want to do it?
Yeah.
And raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Ted Tostermood, affirm
I, Ted Oster, affirm
to support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
to support the Constitution and laws of the United States,
the state of Oregon,
the state of Oregon,
the charter and ordinances of the city of Fairview,
the charter and ordinances of the city of Fairview,
and to faithfully perform
and to faithfully perform
the duties of their office.
the duties of the office.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Just a few words, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Please.
I realize that some of you had other choices, and probably if I was in your seat looking out here with the experience that some of those folks had, I would probably have voted your way, okay? But I will give you my 100%, 110% to try to do a good job for you and for the city.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
Okay, why don't you come on up and have a seat? Yep, now you can vote and everything.
Well, I have just one question on that. What you're going to vote on tonight, I have no experience, so do I abstain?
Okay, no problem. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll continue. Public hearings. Park hours, and that's Alan, and do you want to read the title on that, please?
An ordinance of the Fairview City Council amending the Fairview Municipal Code language pertaining to park hours and correcting anomalies. This is ordinance 1, 2014.
Okay. All right. Staff, are there any other things that you wanted to add to this? Alan?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And we'll ask for questions from the council, if there's any further questions. None? Okay. Next is public testimony. All those who would like to testify in opposition to this matter, please step forward, give your name and address. Seeing none, all those who wish to speak in favor of this, please come forward, give your name and address. Seeing none, anybody who just would like to make a comment about it? Okay, I close public hearing. So, discussion from council. Any comments? Councilor Barton Mullen.
I just want to say that I'm really glad that we've gone ahead and made this a little more cohesive, and everybody knows now at every park what's happening. I think it was, I don't know, my idea, but I really pushed for this to happen. So thank you very much.
Okay.
So with that, Mr. Mayor, to make a motion to approve ordinance 1, 2014.
Second.
Moving to second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? It is passed unanimously. It is done. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Okay. The next is the Arts and Community Events Advisory Committee.
Ordinance 2, 2014, second reading of the ordinance of the Fairview City Council amending the Fairview Municipal Code Chapter 2.17.030 Arts and Community Events Advisory Committee Membership Code.
Hey, Sam, is there any further information you wish to add?
No, sir.
Okay. Any other further questions from the council? Of Sam? Okay, open public hearing. All those who wish to speak in opposition to this measure, please step forward, give your name and address. All those who wish to speak in opposition, please step forward and give your name and address. Anyone who would like to make a comment? Thank you. The public meeting is closed. Any further discussion from council, and then I'll entertain a motion.
Go ahead, make a motion.
Motion?
Move to approve ordinance 02-2014.
Moved?
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? It's passed unanimously.
Mayor, I need to say something.
Oh, go ahead.
Sam, on the ordinance before, on our ordinance sheet, the top of it says 6-2012.
We will correct that.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it?
Is that it?
Yep.
Well, Mayor, in just trying to make sure we get our new council member home on time this evening, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned.